Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to meet all the Ukrainian colleagues and tell the story of the city of Prague. And no long introductions. I've been already introduced, so let's jump right away to my presentations, which I prepared. And of course, at the end, I'm open to any questions you have, and I may answer as I understand that we as city colleagues may share many similar difficulties or just the same story. So I decided to start with a little slide to put us into context of circular economy and why we do this at our city in Prague. So many of you maybe already seen this picture before, maybe some of you not, but basically what this picture says is that we have to deal with the other half of the emissions and not only with the energy sector as we sometimes tend to do, I feel like. We all know the circular economy is quite a new concept all over the world in general. And I'm happy that people are realizing that embedded emissions are necessary to deal with. So of course, we have to deal with how we design our products, how we regenerate our natural systems, and trying basically to retain the energy embedded within the product. So closing the loop. I'm sorry. Yeah, perfect. So I decided to put this slide here to put you in the context and show you the whole pathway, how we got to the point where the city has its own circular economy coordinator. And the whole thing started with the City of Prague adopting the climate plan in 2019. Maybe to give you some reasons why, I think the city and the representatives and the politicians realize the responsibility of the city as such. It's the capital city of Czech Republic. By its population, it has almost 2 million people. It's a historical city full of tourists during majority of the year. And also, as a capital city, it plays somehow like a leader role within the Czech Republic, I think, and tries to show the example. Of course, it deals with many problems, as majority of European cities do. We have a lot of traffic. We have a historical center, which is really hard sometimes to change its structure or reconstruct the buildings in different ways. We have to keep the visual of the city because of the many reasons, and of course we want it. So I think like the city representatives were very aware of many of those problems, and of course wanted to hop on the basically the European strategies and be part of the group of the cities which lead within the European Union. So that's a little bit of the background. And so the city adopted the climate strategy, as I said, in 2019, with the goal of reducing the emissions by 45% by 2030. Of course, with the goal to climate neutrality, to reach the climate neutrality by 2050. And within the climate plan, the circular economy was for the first time introduced, and as one of the 4 ways how to reach basically the climate neutrality. So the climate plan is divided into 4 main categories. It's dealing with sustainable energy in buildings, sustainable mobility, adaptation measures, and circular economy. This is another slide, which is it's in Czech language basically, but this is a picture from Prague scan, which was done actually 1 year earlier than the climate plan was adopted. It was done in 2017-18, And we cooperated with the Circular Economy, the Dutch consultancy company, who helped us make a material flow analysis and look into the city and see where the materials flow basically. And I find it very necessary that when you try to pursue anything within the city, it's really good to base it on the data. So we did the material flow analysis, which gave us the data where you can see by the blue part that the majority of emissions within the city are made within the energy sector, the waste management, and the management of water. And the yellow part is the infrastructure and basically the infrastructure and the transport. So based on these data we already got, we created a circular strategy, which is called Circular Prague 2030. And it's a Prague strategy for transition to a circular economy. And this strategy is like a main document for us, I would say, which maybe I can go to the next slide, which is maybe easier for you, which sets 7 categories we try to focus on within the activities we do in trying to transition to circular economy. So we already had the data, and the data said that the building sector is responsible for 65% of waste, which is created within Prague, within the city. Therefore, the building sector is one of the main categories which we try to focus on. Then another category is water management. We have Vltava, a huge river running through the center of the city, which we try to use the energy from. Then another category is food and agriculture, which focuses on basically trying to have the products that people consume in Prague as close to the city as possible. Then, of course, the waste management, and those are the 4 main categories. However, I never forget about the other 3, which are sometimes a little bit forgotten. And those are public procurement. Of course, cities have huge responsibility in how they procure, and they should procure responsibly. Of course, then business and innovation. That means trying to cooperate with the private sector as much as possible to support new design of new materials, new startups who focus on sustainability and circular economy. And then the governance and implementation, which basically deals with all the maybe a bit boring stuff, but things like measurement of how our transition to circular economy goes. It deals with creation of action plans and things like that. So this is basically the main thing which I would suggest maybe all the cities to do, to get the data and then try to put it on the paper, because it really gives you the structure for your work. You know, you have something which you can follow then. So maybe I'll go very quickly through the other slides. Basically, these are the 4 main categories and the main goals which are set in them. I'm not gonna read them, not to waste the time. But you can see it here, and maybe you'll get the presentations as well. Of course, we have the strategy in English on our website, which I can provide then later. So these are the goals for the other 3 categories. And this is where we are now. It's in check because it's not out there right now, but it's within the, we created the action plan for 23 and 25, which sets basically 60 projects divided into those 7 categories, which I just talked about, and gives us some piloting projects which we can pursue in the next year. Of course, 60 is too many, and we already know we are not gonna do them all within those 2 years, but it's nice to have it written down on the paper and see what's possible to do within the city. So this action plan is currently in in the circle within the city, and is being adopted hopefully very soon. And this is where we are currently at, and the plan is to implement as many projects as possible. Of course, our strategy is set for 2030. We will see what's going to happen next. However, I think we're on a good track, as we already have all these documents, and we know, as I said, we have the structure which we can now follow. This slide, I'm sorry, I need to change it to English at other computer so I can understand what's written there. Yeah, some lessons learned, because I think that's the biggest advice I can give, what you can learn from us. I think we did a very good job. I think it made a lot of sense what we did. Like firstly, we get the data, then based on the data, we created a strategy, and now we're putting the actions into execution. So I think this pathway is really logical, and I really like it. However, I still have some lessons which I think we could do a little bit differently, and maybe can help you and you can avoid them in the future. So the first thing is focus on a few things. As I said, we first in strategy we have 7 categories, and it's a lot of work to focus on 7 categories. And my advice would be to pick 2, 3 out of them and really focus on them, because working at the city may be frustrating and hard sometimes, and you really need to convince many people with your plans and what you want to do in the future. And sometimes it's really nice to have when you accomplish something, when you focus on one thing and you already have it in your hand, and then you can show it as a good example for future, and somehow like a snowballing effect, then pursue and execute more piloting projects which you wanna do. As I said, also now we have the action plan which sets out 60 projects, but we already know we're not gonna do them all. We picked several of them, maybe 5, 7 per year. Maybe that's even too much, and we're focusing just on them. Yeah, start small and beyond that I already explained. And then the cooperation across the city is crucial. Maybe I should put it as the first thing. I don't know what your cities look like or your city halls look like, but we within the city hall, there are at least 2,500 people, and that's not counting the city organizations. And you really need to have everybody on board to pursue anything at the city. So getting in touch with as many people as possible right from the beginning when you want to start something, so everybody knows what you're doing. I find it crucial because when we didn't do it, many times it happened to us that basically the project stopped at the end. So my job basically is all the time about meeting with people, explaining, repeating all the time why we are doing it, what we are doing, and like getting people excited and showing them the positive things about the transition. And the last thing, the data can help a lot. Of course, it also really helps you with the argumentation when you have something to base it on. I'm sorry, and then I think that's gonna be my last slide. As our a case study or like a good example, I would like to show you is based on what I just said, to show you an example of our strategy, Circular Prague. So the whole strategy, it set out many goals, but all of those goals were created with the cooperation with all the actors across the city. So when we wrote the strategy, everybody knew what they are signing up to, why they are signing it up to, and then that makes it very easy for us now to really implement the things we've written down on the paper, because we can say, okay, 2 years ago we've talked about this, now we are at the point of actually implementing it and executing it, and it's really easy to push things now forward. Of course, it takes much more time when you are preparing, but it will help you a lot in the future. Then get on board. Of course, like I think it really helped us to get inspiration from other cities within Europe, as well as consultancy companies within Europe, and just get inspired by what others do, as I think this is quite a new field for the cities. We basically, I think we all know the example of Amsterdam and how far they are, but I think everybody is creating like tabula rasa, may I say it like that. We're basically like trying to pursue something and seeing whether it will work in the future. So I think it's really crucial to get inspired and be part of these presentations, like exactly like this one. And maybe like I will talk a little bit more about the last point, that the strategy is really broad. It's 7 focus categories, and I think it's too much actually. And I think we could have done it differently and focus on less things. Maybe now it feels a little bit unaccomplishable. However, there is an opposite argument to that as well, that at least we know what we can work on, and we do not have to execute everything, but we have more and more goals towards the future. So that's like our little case study, and maybe if you want, I can talk more about the some projects we are working on right now, if you have questions about that. And these are the next plans for the future. We want to, of course, like our team is really small, and we want to make it bigger. More hands, more heads will make a bigger impact. So maybe possibly in the future we could have our circular department, because currently I fall under the Department of Waste Management. Then, of course, we want to focus on evaluation of the strategy, of the data, focus on the measurement, and actually see whether we are making some progress, whether we are reducing the emissions or not. Again, repeating myself maybe a little bit, but focus on the priorities, and don't focus on too many things at once, and implement as many projects as possible within the next years, and show the good example of what we are doing to the city as well, to the city leaders, to our colleagues, to employees at the city hall, and maybe to other cities as well. And this is just like a little summary of what I just said, and you can see, I think, nicely how the steps followed. So we had the data, then we created the climate plan strategy, currently in the implementation of the action plan, and now putting all of those things on the paper into the reality.